All right, good morning, folks. Just finished CrossFit. I'm going to go to the YouTube comments for a question. The viewer asked, I put in a lot of hours coding in college, but despite working much harder than my classmates, I'm still not doing as well as them. Even with all the extra effort, I'm not performing great, but I'm getting better, but not at the same pace as my classmates. I think also my first semester, I didn't really take it so serious, but yeah, I don't know. Do you have an opinion? Do you have opinion? Oh, do you have an opinion on this that would help? Essentially, is what they're asking. So, gonna walk through this. I just got to back into this spot. Windows are all fogged up because I've been sitting in here trying to catch my breath. Let's get that back. Let me get on the road here, and as I'm doing that, friendly reminder to stop beeping at me. Holy jeez. Friendly reminder: if you want questions answered, please add them to the comments. I do go through, read them, engage, try to get topics for videos. And of course, if you have something that's a little bit more in-depth and you want to keep it anonymous, feel free to message me on social media. Just look for Dev Leader. That's my main personal brand, my main YouTube channel, and all my social accounts are under Dev Leader. So I will keep it anonymous. You can write me more in-depth, and I'm happy to try and answer. Okay, this is, I think, a pretty common thing that happens. I know that I certainly felt this way going through university, but for different aspects, okay? So I'll kind of share some of my experience, and then we'll talk about this a little bit more generically. Sorry to clear the windshield there. So for me in university, I've kind of told this story before, but I felt like when I was in university, I went for computer engineering. And the way that our program was structured, you're basically with the same classmates for the entire 5 years that you're in school, for the most part. It only changes like in the upper years, really, when you start to have some elective classes. But otherwise, I was with the same folks for 5 years. So I found in university that things were really divided between people that seemed to be very good at math and people that seemed to be good at programming. And it's not that you couldn't overlap. I'm not saying like that wasn't possible, but it seemed like people either had a knack for one or the other. And in high school, for me, like I was someone I would have said was both. So I like never had to try at math. I always had like high 90s in math, which is sweet. I was, like whatever, I can just kind of coast through anything math. And because I love to program, I was like, I'm going to be a strong programmer in school as well. But what happened was that when I got into university, I was still what I would call, a strong programmer, relatively speaking. But my math skills were horrendous. So I was almost failing my math classes in university, which is a bit of a shock for me. But what I was doing was kind of looking around and going, like, this isn't fair. Like, how are these other people, getting such high grades? How is it that they're able to excel at this stuff? And this is sort of one of the really obvious parts in my, not childhood, my young adult life, I guess I can say, where I started to do some comparison like this. Okay, so try to look at how I am compared to classmates and going, wow, like it's, and I shouldn't use the word wow, because I want to talk about this a little bit when we do comparisons. It wasn't so much wow, it was like, it's not fair. Why is it that they can do so good? I'm trying so hard. How can they be doing better than me? And this is kind of like, this pattern is not a good one to get into. And I'm not a psychologist. My wife is the one that works in psychology, so I'm sure she could actually have some more intelligent answer than I'm going to give you as to why this happens or the impact of it. But at least anecdotally, what I think happens is like, it really just sets us up for not performing better when we do comparisons like this. There's like a good quote that's like, and I'm tired and I'm not going to remember it, but the, comparison is the thief of joy, I think is what it is. And I think that really is like truthful here. So when we start doing this, it's like what we're not doing is acknowledging that we are taking steps forward. Because what we start to do is look at other people, and we only seem to, again, anecdotally, only seem to pinpoint the people that are doing well and going, it's not fair. They can do it. I'm also trying hard. Why can I not? But what we're not doing is looking at all the other people who also might be having challenges. We just look at people that are excelling and then go, it sucks, like it's not fair. So what we see is this dichotomy between someone who's clearly doing something very good. You don't know how much effort they're putting in, right? That's kind of hidden from you. But then you look at your own effort going in and the results, and it's, we get discouraged by it. But we don't look at all the other people who are also maybe struggling or also putting in a lot of effort and not having, those results that stand out to you. So the only other brief example I want to give, and this is just something outside of software development, is like, even as a content creator, I fall into this kind of trap all of the time. I put in a lot of effort into content creation. Commute is a bit of an exception for me because I can just turn on a camera and talk in a car, and it gets more views than my main channel. So it's kind of ironic that what I've been doing over the past few years as a content creator is I'll see other people that just start a YouTube channel. There was a recent example on LinkedIn where someone was like, oh, I haven't made a YouTube video in like 6 months, and I went from like 100 subscribers to over 12,000 from one YouTube video because Prime, if you know the Primeagen, he had like shared it in a video, and this person got more YouTube subscribers from one video than I've gotten across 2 channels and over 400 videos. And you can imagine how that made me feel, right? Like, obviously I'm happy for them, but I'm like, I've spent thousands of dollars on edited videos on my main channel, over 2 years of like cranking out videos, over 400 videos across these 2 channels. And from one video, this guy gets, like more subscribers than I have between both my channels. That makes me feel like, what am I even doing here? So it's not a good spot to be in to do this comparison, because then all of a sudden it makes it feel like everything I'm doing is all for naught. And that's not the kind of mentality we want to have when we're trying to get better at things and trying to be successful. And I'm not here to be like a motivational speaker or anything like that, but I do mean this, right? And I'm saying this because I've lived it, and I'm still living this kind of thing. So I want to share that with you so that, number one, you realize like you're not alone when you do this kind of thing. But number two, it's also just like not beneficial. Like nothing good comes from that. If you're going to compare yourself to other people, I think you need to change the framing of it. So instead of being like, it's not fair, why can they do so great? Instead, if you're going to compare yourself to someone else, say, wow, this is why I wanted to reserve this word. Wow, look how good they're doing. I would love to be successful like that as well. I wonder what I can learn and emulate from their behavior that may also help me be that way. That's a more positive framing versus it's not fair. Okay? So for this person that's asking when they're doing this comparison with their classmates, everyone is going to learn at different paces. And the reality is, and it may not be obvious to you right now, or you as the viewer, and you're not the person that submitted this, what you may not realize is that, especially in like college, university, it could be boot camps, there's going to be things that you're observing where your peers, they might stand out, right? They might be excelling at something that you're not necessarily excelling at. And it's kind of in front of your face, it's around you, and it's kind of like repeated, right? But what you might not realize is that you're going to have other skill sets that you will be excelling at that they don't. And that's not so you can say, haha, and rub it in their face. That's because I want you to think about that and say, it may not be something that's being highlighted right now. And a really good example of this, a really good one, we see it especially with people that switch between careers, is you might be someone, and I don't know this person that submitted the question, right? I don't know you, the viewer, but a really good example of this is soft skills. This is a really undervalued part of software engineering. It's why you'll hear me talk about it all the time, because it goes a really long way, especially as you're becoming more senior. Your technical skills will continue to get better because you'll be exercising them constantly, right? It's always in front of your face. You need to be coding, you're designing things, you're working on more complicated systems. This kind of stuff will just keep happening the longer that you're in the field. And soft skills as well, but I think that we have to put a little bit more conscious effort into them. You might be someone already that has a natural ability for some of these soft skills. Maybe you are someone that communicates really well or that has empathy, right? Maybe you're a really good problem solver, or you can debug things really effectively, but how you're getting, assignments or questions in school isn't really translating into that. So my point is that when we do this type of comparison, we're basically just highlighting faults of ours and then feeling, and I don't mean to be rude, but kind of feeling sorry for ourselves. And I feel like I can say this because I am someone that has done this, and I did this recently with the content creation example I gave with the YouTube thing. I remember I shared this too. I was having a conversation with my wife, and she was like, "What's wrong? Why?" She could tell. She's like, "Why are you so down right now?" Right? And it was literally because of this, where I'm doing this comparison and starting to be like, it's just not fair. It's just not fair, right? But what is that going to help with? So instead, it's like, okay, well, if I were to do a reflection, there's probably many things that I could go do a comparison and be like, okay, these things I excel at, okay, I feel better. But again, as soon as we start comparing, I don't think it's a great spot to be in. So for you, if you're in college or university and you see your classmates excelling at things, that's great. You need to focus on yourself. Okay, your classmates, how they're performing, that's outside of your control. Great for them, but you have to focus on what you can do. So if you are feeling like you're falling behind on things, there's nothing wrong with having identified weaknesses. I think there's something wrong with having identified weaknesses and then consciously neglecting them, even though you're I need to work on that. That's something we need to improve on. Or I shouldn't say something wrong, but I don't know, an opportunity if you're just I don't even care to understand what my weaknesses might be. We need to be able to do reflection like this so that we can target where we need to improve. Sorry, my mouth is so dry, and that's a smoothie, so it's not even it's not even refreshing. So I'm trying to think of some helpful advice for this person, right? You're in school, you're doing this comparison kind of thing. I would either try to not do the comparison thing at all, or if there are people that stand out to you where you're impressed by how good they're doing, why not talk to them about it? Right? And turn it around. Instead of being oh, Jimmy in my class, it's not fair that he's, able to do way better than me. Why don't you talk to Jimmy and see how is Jimmy studying? How is Jimmy preparing for these things? Maybe, just to give you an example, maybe Jimmy isn't actually that great at assignments and things like that, but Jimmy can ace exams. Really good at writing exams. I knew people like this. I certainly was not good at writing exams. To this day, if you had to give me an exam on something, I would struggle versus a project. But some people are like this, and if your marking scheme is skewed to be more weighted for exams, maybe people excel at this. But my point is maybe go to Jimmy and say hey, I've been really impressed by your ability to deliver on these types of things. It seems like you're getting really great marks. Is there anything that I could learn from you in terms of how you're studying or preparing for this stuff? And then use that as a positive thing, right? Hey, hey, someone, I admire how you're doing. Could I learn from you? And not, hey, someone, I'm jealous or it's unfair. And by the way, I want to clarify, this person that submitted the question, I'm not trying to put words into their mouth around like them being jealous or them saying it's not fair. That's my interpretation, because that's how I have felt in those types of situations. So that's actually, those are my words. This person might just be curious and they don't actually have jealous feelings or it's unfair. I'm just trying to get ahead of that and answer that for other people as well, potentially. So number one, you could try transforming some of the jealousness or it's not fair situations into like opportunities. Number two is like you could try as much as possible cutting that kind of thing out altogether. The things you need to focus on are the things like the marks you're getting. Those will tell you where you need to focus. Coming up with a plan for how you want to get your first job, the projects and stuff that you want to work on. Like focus on you, focus on the things that are in your control, because ultimately that's what's going to matter. It doesn't matter how Jimmy or Sally in your class are doing. Great for them. Be happy for them. I know easier said than done. But that's not in your control. So it's like, it is just kind of wasted energy unless you want to use that energy for kind of learning from them. What else here? I wanted to talk a little bit more about like pace for learning. Like I see this happen even with onboarding people at work at the same time. Similar levels, that kind of stuff. I've had employees that were onboarded at the same time as each other. Even having their levels kind of work against them in this context, and in some cases here, where say the more junior person's able to ramp up faster than the more senior person, right? And so like I observe it, I can only imagine the people in this situation, the employees are observing it, but some interesting things happen, right? Like, you know, given time, I've also seen in a situation like that, where given a little bit more time, so the ramp up curve for the more senior person took a little longer, but once they were ramping up, their rate of acceleration was much faster. So they continued to like, so basically they took a little longer to match the other person that was even more junior than them. And then once they matched, they just continue to excel. So it's not the same, it's not like linear necessarily. It's not the same curve as other people. Everyone's going to have different things. And the other thing to layer into that is like different strengths and weaknesses, always. So there's nothing wrong with taking, you know, different rate of or different pace to like learn something or to get better at something. I think it is important that you acknowledge that you are getting better at things. So the person that wrote this question in, like, they did mention, like, I notice I am getting better, and that's awesome. Like, I think we don't do that enough where we reflect and say, hey, look, like, I am making progress. That is a good step. That shouldn't be understated, and I think should be highlighted and kind of like celebrated, just because we don't actually do that. You know, when I was kind of getting down on myself about having, you know, some other creator basically completely overshot my channel with one video, over two of my channels with one video. What I wasn't doing is saying, yeah, but like, look how far I've come, right? Like, great for them, doesn't really have any effect on me, but like, actually, this is a good opportunity for me to say, look how far I've come and what I've been able to achieve. I don't know many other people that have been able to put out like 400 videos in 2 years. And now, and like, I realized this the other day, like at the start of January, I guess, like I've been doing across my 2 YouTube channels, like 12 to 15 YouTube videos a week. When I started doing YouTube just on my main channel, I was struggling. I set a goal to do 3 videos a week. And like, that's already a lot for most people. And I'm doing like 12 to 15. That's like a ridiculous set of growth. So like, and again, I'm not saying this to brag. My point is like, it would have been really helpful for me to think about, hey, look how far I've come. It's a good reminder. I just think that we don't do this enough for ourselves. You don't have to go bragging about it to other people, but it's a good reminder for you to say, hey, look, I am making progress here. And you can use that to try and restore some momentum. Yeah, people will learn at different rates. Like I was saying, you'll see this even with like in industry, not just academically, but I've experienced both. I've done, okay, let's talk about some more comparison stuff. I've done comparison to myself to other managers, and been like, hey, like I'm doing more, like why is it that I'm not getting paid like for the amount of work that I'm doing that's more, why aren't I getting paid like proportionally that more? I've had employees that have talked to me about, this happens a lot actually, where if someone feels that they've been in a level for a particular amount of time and they're like, and I've come into teams, but I just want to kind of add a bit of a disclaimer here. I've come into teams that have already existed and people that have already been at a level for a particular time. And, they're perceiving that they should be at a higher level. Like, hey, I put in my time, I should be at a higher level. And then what they do is they compare themselves to someone else. They say, yeah, but I know so-and-so. So-and-so has been at that level for X amount of months. And like, there's an obvious sign, right? Like I should also be at least at that level because of that. But again, this is like a surface level comparison. I've had employees do this, comparing themselves to other people I manage, and they don't know what's going on behind the scenes. Right? They have one perspective on it, and I'm not saying that's like their perspective's wrong, but it's an incomplete picture. So we do these comparisons without a complete picture, and I often think that it skews our perception even more. So my recommendation, just to kind of wrap it up, is like focus on what you have control over. Keep working hard. Keep identifying where you have gaps. Try to work on those. Recognize your strengths. You can lean into strengths, double down on them. Nothing wrong with that. But try not to be blind to where you have opportunities, because I think those are some of the best areas for growth, especially if they're uncomfortable. Especially. So I think that's it, though. I'm just about to get home. I'm going to unlock my front door here. I'm going to the office today. I don't usually go on Tuesdays, but yesterday was a holiday. So I'm going to go to the office today and tomorrow. So we'll get a couple more code commute videos done together. And yeah, just a reminder, like if you have questions, add them to the comments below or send a message to Dev Leader on YouTube. I don't know when I'm going to post this one, maybe this afternoon or tomorrow morning. But I wanted to remind people about the live stream on my main channel that's at 7 p.m. Pacific. So on my Dev Leader YouTube channel, 7 p.m. Pacific on Mondays, I live stream on topics just like this, right? The general software engineering. I take questions. So if there's people that are active in the chat, I will spend my entire time talking about what's in the chat. I would rather spend time doing that. So hope to see you there, 7 p.m. Pacific on Mondays on my main Dev Leader channel. So thanks for watching. I hope this was helpful, and I will see you next time. Take care.